Here we go again. It's the hope that kills. Tonight is the night. Tottenham versus Bodo Glimt. No excuses. Nothing. Spurs must turn up and give absolutely everything. No holding back. No handbrake. Put Bodo on the back foot from second one and squeeze them into submission. Make them doubt their right to be a European semi-finalist. Put them to the sword and don't let up for 90 minutes. Harness the will of 62,000 mostly Spurs fans and get a result that will make this season seem worthwhile again. In this preview, I'll be going through all of the important stats, quotes and information, and of course giving my thoughts on how tonight's massive game will go. Come on, you Spurs. Guys, thank you so much for watching and for listening wherever you are. Please, if you're on YouTube, give this video a like and do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, if you're not a subscriber or follower on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do go over there and give me a subscribe and a follow and a rating. It's the Spurred On podcast over there. Please do come and give it a listen. You can listen when you're out running, when you're walking the dog, when you're driving. It's not only a YouTube channel. But let's get into it, guys. I'm nervous. What can I say? Fingernail biting. And it's a huge night. We need to put in a mega performance. We need goals. We need to take a lead to Bodo. Ange Postecoglou did his big press conference yesterday. He was asked specifically about Bodo Glimt. He said, yeah, they've been pretty consistent the last few years. Obviously, same manager and core group of players, but definitely a distinct style of football that they've stuck to and had success with. They've been pretty consistent in the Norwegian league, but also in Europe. And every game they've played, irrespective of the opposition, they've played some really good quality opposition in Europe and always been competitive. I think that is born from the fact they're very stable, have a clear understanding of how they play their football. It will be a good challenge for us. Now, call me a cynic, but let me know if you agree with me. I feel like almost every comment that Ange makes, whether it's about his team, about himself, or in this example, about Bodo Glimt, our opposition, he's trying to make a point about Tottenham Hotspur. He's trying to make a point about his own situation at the club by talking about how consistent they've been, how they've stuck with the same manager for years, and how they've kind of steadily improved in Europe. I think we'll go on to hear some quotes about that. I feel like he's always just trying to stick a little knife in to say, listen, this is what Tottenham need to do. They need to stick with me, even though the pressure is on the club to sack me. No matter what happens in the Europa League, you have to stick with me. And Bodo Glimt have shown that if you stick with someone for a long period of time, you can grow. And I hate to say it, but even though I'm going to contradict myself, there is truth to that. Of course there's truth to that. And the contradiction comes from, I just don't see how Ange's job is tenable past the summer because of the fact that we're going to finish 17th in the league. But there is truth to the fact that to grow, quite often you do need to stick with the same manager. And I hate to say it, but them lot down the road stuck with Arteta when all of their fans wanted him to go. And I mean, even though they're bottling it in the really big occasions and not quite getting over the line in terms of the Premier League and the Champions League, they've certainly improved a great deal. So there is some truth to that. Ange was asked about Bodo's, their official pronunciation in Norwegian is actually Bodo, but I can't bring myself to say that, so I'm just going to say Bodo. Not because I don't like Norwegians or whatever, but I'm not Norwegian, so for me to try and sound Norwegian seems a bit weird. I don't know enough of the language to do that. Anyway, Ange was asked about their playing style. He says, I love their approach. I love that they're not intimidated by oppositions. I love the fact that they take the game to whoever they play. I'm looking forward to the challenge again. So what he's saying is, I love how they do it their way. Well, this is what I do. I'm Ange Postecoglou and I attack no matter what happens. I play Ange ball and I leave huge spaces for oppositions to attack us. That's not what he's saying, but he's saying certainly the first part. Ange was asked whether there'll be a replay of the Jose Mourinho clash. Now, if you remember, a few years ago, Bodo Glimt absolutely pulverised Roma, and Jose Mourinho, to say he was not happy and misbehaved would be an understatement. Go and check that out. But Ange said this, I'm a bit different to Jose. That's the kind of results that Bodo have had in the past. It means you have to respect them. This is not just a one-off. That was 4 years ago, and every year they've done that to more than one club that is supposedly bigger than them. They've gone further this year, and they've earned it. Even to get to the knockout stage, Olympiacos are a tough team and won the Conference League last year. Lazio are a good side, so they are not here by accident. And that is the truest thing that Ange has said, I think. We cannot be complacent about this side we're playing tonight. We cannot expect to roll them over because, their town has only 45,000 people and their stadium only holds 8,000 people. They have built up to this moment. Now, the one positive that we can take forward is that they do have some injuries and suspensions tonight. And that is why I feel like tonight is such an important game for Spurs to try and get a lead, because away from home, when they have some of those suspensions back, particularly their best player, Berg, the number 6, who is the conductor, he is the playmaker, he is the quarterback. He'll be missing tonight, and we need to take advantage of that, which puts some extra pressure on Spurs. Of course it does. Ange was asked about their manager, Knutsen. His name's Kjetil Knutsen. Good guy, says Ange. I obviously met him a few years back, and he's done really well. He's a clear identity of the way he wants his team to play. Yes, all right, Ange, we get it. He's created a really strong culture at the club. Yes, Ange, okay, we get it. And not just from a football perspective, but from a mental perspective as well. I look forward to seeing him tomorrow night. He was also asked about Bodo being from a small team. He said, that's what I love about the game. That's the beauty of football, irrespective of where you come from or from the size of the place that you come from. We get it, Ange. You're from Australia, I know. Not a small place, but obviously no manager has come from Australia and managed in the Premier League before. We get it, mate. If you're ambitious and if you have a clear plan, especially in our sport, you can create unique opportunities and fantastic moments. I think that's what we love about the game. That's what we love about football. There's always been stories of clubs from smaller areas or small countries doing well in major competitions. That's always existed. That's true. The Bodo Glimt story actually really reminds me of the start of Sven-Göran Eriksson's career. Now, for those of you who are a bit younger, Sven-Göran Eriksson was an incredibly successful Swedish manager who ended up managing the English national team and getting us to a few quarterfinals back in the 2000s. But he started at lower clubs in Sweden and got IFK Gothenburg, won them the UEFA Cup. And this manager, Knutsen, he has been offered bigger jobs, and so far he's turned them down. I think for family reasons, from what I hear. But he has done an amazing job there, and certainly at some point, if he ever wants to leave northern Norway and come and do a job in the Premier League or one of the elite leagues, I'm sure he will have his suitors. Ange was asked what the main reason is as to why Bodo Glimt have reached this stage. He said, again, they've been a stable club, same manager, clear identity. They've created a real kind of resilience in the group, mental resilience, irrespective of who they play with, whether that's in the Norwegian League, the Champions League qualifiers, or the Europa or Conference League. They treat every opponent the same and they play at the same level. That's why they've been a dangerous opponent. Yeah, that's what we can expect. They play in patterns. They know exactly, individually, what they have to do wherever the ball is on the pitch. Real kind of tactical knowledge and just a togetherness, really, that I think is born out of having played together for so long. In fact, some of their players, during the period of time that Knutsen's been the manager, they have been picked off by bigger clubs, but they've never really worked out wherever they've gone, and therefore Bodo Glimt have then always bought them back and made a huge profit on the selling fee versus the fee that they bought them back for. Knutsen himself was asked whether his team, he feels, are capable of winning this season's Europa League. He said this, "It's not where we are. This is not how we think. We think about what it takes to produce a good performance. We have enough courage to say that when we got this far, you could say it's possible, but there are 4 sides left. I don't think we're the favourites to win the Europa League, but we have shown that we can be competitive and we're stepping up to another level. We've never been to this level before. Can we compete with Tottenham over 2 matches? I don't have the answer, but yes, I believe so." He sounds like a level-headed guy. He went on to answer when asked how big this game is. He said, "I'm incredibly proud to represent Glimt and what Glimt represents, and all of those that have supported Glimt over time. Of course, to be able to do what you love the most in life with people that you love a lot, and then test yourself against better opponents all the time, it's an incredible experience. I'll reflect more on it in a few years, but I'm incredibly happy to have been part of this journey." It is a real rags to riches story, and let's hope to God that we can put an end to it, frankly. Justin Gunderson, their defender, was asked whether there's any danger that they might underestimate Spurs. He said, "No, we don't underestimate them. We will not underestimate anyone, and certainly not Tottenham. It's a fantastic football team, as everybody knows. We're humble, but we're also confident, and we're here for a reason. That's because we're a good football team. We hope to show this during the game." Ange was asked whether he's surprised that Bodo Glimt are in the semi-finals of the Europa League. He said, "I'm not. If it was the first year that they'd got results like that, then you say, yeah, I'm a bit surprised. But they've been building towards it. Every year they've made an impact in Europe. It's only been in recent years that they've been in Europe. And the more you are in, the more you get a chance to grow. They have grown every year. Irrespective of how it goes this year, I would expect them to have another impact next year. Maybe through the Champions League qualifiers and get into the Champions League. That wouldn't surprise me either. So that's good to hear as far as I'm concerned. No way that Ange is taking them lightly. And again, another little dig suggesting that once you get in Europe, you grow, and saying, I got us in Europe basically. So if I can get us into Europe again, we'll do even better next season if we're in the Champions League, because the only way we're going to be in Europe next year, of course, would be in the Champions League if we win this competition. Ange was then asked, I'm sure you've heard about this, but Ange actually, when he was at Celtic, played Bodo Glimt over 2 legs and was destroyed. And he was asked about that and whether he could learn anything from those games. He said, yes, absolutely. Like I said, same manager, similar style of play. When we played with Celtic, our season had got off to a slow start, but by that time we played some decent football. But I remember, because again, we had the first game at home, a bit like us, and their ability to play at a really good intensity. They weren't phased. The atmosphere at Celtic Park is unbelievable, but they weren't phased by that. They'd beaten Roma a couple of weeks before, and it really strikes you that I don't think they're going to be daunted by anything tomorrow that they face, because they've been at Old Trafford, they played at the Emirates, I think a couple of years ago. Like I said, they played some of the biggest Italian clubs. They played some huge clubs in other countries, and you see that they have this ability to not be phased by it, and we've got to expect that tomorrow night. I do not expect them to be overawed by the occasion, sort of thinking, wow, they've got a real capacity to be strong in their mind about what they need to do. And the away game is tricky because you're playing on an artificial surface in difficult conditions. So I think there are some real parallels there. And having experienced it, I know they're going to be a tough opponent. All that's true. And if you take that on its own, it's kind of enough to put the fear of God into you, isn't it? But, of course, they did go to Lazio, to Rome, and they lost 3-1. They, of course, were 2-0 up from the first leg and managed to get through on penalties. But I personally don't think, certainly right now, that Lazio are better than Tottenham. I don't think Lazio are they're not in as bad form domestically as Spurs, but their form hasn't been great. And they've kind of got Guendouzi in midfield, and Pedro's obviously like 38 years old, the ex-Chelsea player. So I feel like Tottenham are as strong as Lazio, and so we should be able to, if we play well and if we really go for it and go 110%, we should be able to take a lead. But it's how much of a lead we can take into that second leg, whilst also not being complacent and playing tight at the back and not trying to do anything stupid. What I loved about those Frankfurt games was when the ball had to go into row Z, it went into row Z. And that should be the same tonight as well. What I'm really hoping for is that, and I'm expecting that Bodo will try and play a deep block, try and make it difficult for us, but I'm hoping that with Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero, we will keep our defensive line kind of 10 yards inside their half. So every time they clear it, we pick it up and we're able to start an attack again and just keep the foot down on them. That's what I'm hoping we can do. Ange was asked about assessing the players' ability to perform physically for this game. Obviously, we've had so many injuries this season, so the physicality is always something that's brought up. He said, I think we're in a good place. I think looking at the outputs of the players, I think we've got work into the players that needed it. Others we've had to manage, because with a season like ours, where guys like Romero and Van der Ven and Udogie, guys who've missed a lot of the season, it's not just about getting them back. You've got to manage how you bring them back, how and when they play. Certainly, all the guys we rested on the weekend, like Bentancur, all could have played, or like Pedro on the weekend for sure, meaning Pedro Porro, of course. But it made sense for us to give them really good preparation. And the guys who played, Dom played 60, Maddison played 45. They're in a good place physically. We're going to need a big physical performance because, again, Bodo worked really hard as a team. But similarly to the Frankfurt games, I think the guys from a physical standpoint are in a good place to have a strong performance. I hope so. I'm sure you've heard this, but obviously he was also asked about Sonny. He said, no, Sonny won't feature tomorrow night. He's out training, but is still separate from the group. He's improving, and hopefully we can get him back sooner rather than later. So I'm expecting Matthias Tell to start again on the left-hand side of the forward line, and I think he's really improved over the last month or so. He's really starting to get confident. He's starting to believe in his place in this Tottenham side. And what we need is a breakout performance from him. And if that was tonight, then that would be absolutely perfect. Ange was asked about those injuries and suspensions that Bodo Glimt are having, and particularly missing their best player, Patrick Berg. He said this: missing Berg is a loss, but has always been It's always been what they do as a team rather than individuals, because over the last 5 years they've sold a lot of players and the team has always been consistent. So a good point there from Ange, that it's a squad that knows how to play. They know exactly what to do, so it will not be easy. Let's go through some match facts and stats. Spurs and Bodo Glimt have never previously played each other in any competition. Spurs have won all 4 of their previous European games against Norwegian teams, beating Lyn 6-3 and 6-0 in 1972, Tromsø 3-0 and 2-0 in 2013-2014. Bodo Glimt have lost all 3 of their European meetings with English clubs, losing home and away against Arsenal in 22-23 in the Europa League, whilst they lost 3-2 away at Man United earlier this campaign in the group stages. But they did get 2 goals at Old Trafford, so there you go. We're going to have to be at our best to try and get a win. Not only a win, but a win, ideally with at least a couple of goals to take to Norway with us. This is Tottenham's 9th major European semi-final and their first since we made the final in 2019, of course, where we played the semi against Ajax. We've lost the first leg of our last 2 semi-finals. Hajduk split in 84 and Ajax 2019, but recovered each time to reach the final. Bodo Glimt are the first Norwegian side in European football history to reach the semi-final of a major European competition. It's their first time the country's team will represent the Final Four since it will be a country's team represented for the first time in the Final Four since Dynamo Kiev reached the Champions League semi-final in 1998-99. Including qualifiers, Spurs are unbeaten in their last 19 home matches in European competitions. 1-15 drawn for since losing to Leipzig in February 2020. I was at that game. That was very disappointing. Timo Werner scored against us, if memory serves. It's the longest ongoing run of any English side who's featured in Europe this season. Okay, so Spurs have got a little run going at home. That's good. Let's keep that up. Let's get a big win. Bodo Glimt have lost each of their last 3 away Europa League matches, all in the knockout stages, and have won just once away from home in 10 attempts, drawn 3, lost 6. A 2-1 win at Braga in the group stage this season was that victory. The only teams to lose the away leg of the last 16, quarterfinal and semi-final, and reach a Europa League final are Ajax in 2017 and Rangers in 2022. So it can be done, but Glimt's away form not brilliant. So that's something to grab hold of as well. Just a few more. Spurs have given 36 Europa League appearances to teenagers this season, the most by an English club in a season. Dominic Solanke has been involved in 7 Europa League goals, 3 goals and 4 assists, the most by a Spurs player in a campaign since Vinicius in 2021. Do you remember him? And Kjetil Knutsen, the Bodo Glimt manager, second Norwegian manager to take charge of a Europa League semi-final after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did for Man United. Okay, guys, before I go on, once again, please, if you're not already a subscriber to my channel, do press that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm now only 400 subscribers away from 15,000. Let's get up there. If you like regular Tottenham Hotspur news, if you like transfer news when the window's open from across the Premier League, and of course you'll be seeing, because my day job is stand-up comedy, I also post some little YouTube shorts of my stand-up clips as well. So if you like that kind of thing, please do press subscribe. Give this video a like as well. Let's get it seen by as many Spurs fans as possible. Okay, also put out in front of the press this week before the big match was James Maddison, which makes me think he will start tonight. I think we do need his creativity. Would you start Maddison in the 8-10 role and then Deki Kulusevski on the right with Tell on the left? I think that is what will happen with Bergvall and Bentancur making up the rest of the midfield, and of course Dominic Solanke up front. But let me know in the comments what you think that team will be, and if you think it should be any different. Madders was asked about how big tonight's game is. He said it's huge. When you get to the end of your career and you look back, there's probably not many times any player's been in a European semi-final. Maybe once, twice, a few times if you're lucky, if you're at the really big clubs. We have to use that we're in the Final Four of a massive competition in Europe and use it as motivation to have a great tie on Thursday and away in Bodo next week, because we've got a really special opportunity. There's obviously been a lot of talk about the form and it's been quite a poor season, but we still have the opportunity to do something very special. We're in the last 4 of a European competition and you've earned it. You don't just get placed there. We deserve to be here, so it's a challenge we're going to relish. It starts tonight. Listen, I agree with that. And I just mentioned that stat about Spurs playing more teenagers than any other English club. We've got to give credit to those players who came in during the horrible winter of discontent and when we had all of those injuries and managed to keep picking up results here and there enough in the group stage to get us through so that we were able to get through the knockout stages to this position. So got to thank some of those players like Ajayi, like Scarlett, like Mikey Moore, all those boys who came in. They've done an amazing job and it will really help their career. Maddison was asked whether this is an opportunity that he cannot afford personally to waste. He said, yes, definitely. I feel like that. I'm very motivated to help the team have success. We got to the semi-final of the Conference League with Leicester a few years ago and lost to Roma over 2 legs. Roma then went on to win the competition under Jose Mourinho. And I remember those 2 legs very clearly. At the time, I probably didn't realise the magnitude of what we were trying to achieve, but I do now. That's what gaining experience is, I guess. It's important for myself and the team that we're ready and we don't let any small details get in the way. It's a very important fixture for us. I love those words from Maddison. It sounds like he's motivated. It sounds like he wants it. And we really need him to get on the ball. And why I like him in the 8-10 role rather than Kulusevski is because he's far more interested in coming deep to get the ball and play that kind of conductor role. And we're going to need that because there are going to be bodies in front of us. There's going to be a deep block. They're going to be very, very well drilled and well coached. And we're going to need players who can move the opposition around. Madders was also asked about Bodo being a small club and does it put more pressure on Spurs. He says, I don't think so. If you watch football, you've seen Bodo play over the last few years. They're always in Europe. They're a team that pops up regularly. They played United this year. They played at Arsenal. They played at some of the huge Italian clubs and they've had good results. If you're a fan of football and if you watch European football, you've seen them play, definitely. We've obviously done some preparation. You talk about their population, but that almost adds to their unity as a club and the family feel. We know it's going to be tough. We're not taking this game lightly at all, especially away from home next week. We know it's going to be a tough game, but tomorrow's the home leg and we have to make them feel that. Okay, just a few more things really. Ange was asked whether he was superstition, as the last time Tottenham won a European trophy, Liverpool were champions and the manager also left at the end of that season. He says, geez, it's a hell of a way to frame that question. Look, I said before, and I get we're trying to run 2 parallel things here of a really disappointing season in terms of the league, but I don't think we can do anything other than really concentrate on this unbelievable opportunity. As I said last week, I think if you ask any Spurs supporter what's furthermost in their mind right now, what's going to happen next year, or us hopefully trying to get to a final in Europe and the opportunity to win some silverware, I think the answer would be just concentrate on the now, and that's what I'm doing. Ange was asked, I don't know, I'm sure you've heard about this, but the club have worked with at THFC flags on a tifo for tonight in the South Stand and a load of flags all around the stadium, and they've asked everybody going to the stadium to wear white. So if you are going tonight, make sure you do that to help with the atmosphere. And Ange was asked about it all. He said, yeah, it's really important. And again, the guys that have travelled with us throughout Europe, whether this year or other years, you see the impact that it has when you play in opposition stadiums, when the supporter base really feels engaged with the club, with the team and with the occasion. It will be hugely important for us tonight. Our fans in Frankfurt were outstanding, and to be fair, in Europe all year. Every European game, even the Frankfurt home game, I thought was a fantastic atmosphere, and we're going to need it again. Again, it's a semi-final of European competitions. I'm sure our supporters are excited. Everyone at the club is excited. We want to make sure we get the best chance to perform at the level so we can get through. And then, of course, there was that news just yesterday that Lucas Bergvall has signed a new contract, and Ange was asked about that. He said, hugely delighted for Lucas. It's a reward for his development this year, his performances, and how well he's adapted. We've got to remember a lot of young guys who come to the Premier League maybe have a step in between, whether that is playing in another league, but he has come straight from the Swedish league, a year of senior football, and it's a credit to him. He's worked really hard at his game. At the beginning, he was struggling to cope with the intensity and the tempo, as you'd expect, and as we expected. A lot of our football and life in general is opportunity. He had an opportunity this year because of the situation with injuries, and he grabbed it with both hands. And even now, we've virtually got a full squad to pick from, and he's still being selected because he took the opportunity. I think there's a core group of young players here that hopefully we can build something from. So more positivity going in tonight. Okay, guys, so here is my predicted lineup. I am going Vicario, Porro, Van de Ven, Romero, Udogi, Bentancur, Bergvall, Maddison, Kulusevski on the right, Matthias Tell on the left, and Dominic Solanke up front, with the likes of Johnson and Odegaard to come on off the bench, as well as many others. Let me know what your predicted team is, guys. And in terms of my predicted scoreline, I'm going to say what I said on Sonny Snelling's YouTube channel yesterday. Go and check that out if you haven't. I predicted a 3-1 win to Spurs. It won't be easy, and I can't see us keeping a clean sheet. I hope I'm wrong, but hopefully we'll really put the pressure on them, get an early goal, and make it difficult. And hopefully maybe we could do even better than that. Come on, Spurs. Let's make this a night to remember. Enjoy the rest of the day, and of course, enjoy your night tonight. Come on, you Spurs.